Howdy, 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 my name's Anaji Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read Prequel, or Making a Cat Cry the Adventure. So, it looks like since my last episode, there hasn't been any more updates. So, it looks like I've only got like 3 pages left until I run out of comic. However, we are, as of me recording this, 4 days out from this page having come out a year ago. And I like this comic, so I figured I'd come back around to it and just kinda deal with the consequences of there not being any more, and trust you guys to let me know when there's some more. So, Smooth wrote, "Is it truly that bad? While it might not be wonderful for the makers, all rights reserved, it's good for the long-term retention of Cairn Corp all rights reserved customers. There wouldn't be many conjurings if the customers began to die en masse. While you don't want to upset another space skeleton, you cautiously push the topic further. Restoration magic means conjurers last longer, which means more conjurings, and that's what Cairn Corp, all right reserved skeleton adds. Once, right? Repeat customers? The skeleton acknowledges that the bad magic is indeed a method conjurers may utilize to prolong their living state, although its use is heavily discouraged by Cairn Corp, all rights reserved. If customers are concerned about personal safety, it's recommended that they prepare their paperwork well in advance and keep a skeletal minion on hand at all times, as this provides protection without endorsing the School of Restoration." Sensing your confusion, the skeleton explains further. Cairn Corp, all rights reserved, is one of the few conjuration planes to offer undead servants, meaning your summons are not only of the highest quality, but immune to poisons, exhaustion, and mind control that would affect a conventional Daedric summon. However, their undead nature also means they are uniquely susceptible to several forms of specialized magical combat utilized by a very small number of mages. Most of these spells focus on temporarily breaking the Bonekin's link to the Masters, but those versed in the bad magic often take a more heinous path, tampering with the Bonekin's very past. What the heck? Haunted houses are lame. A Bonekin targeted by these spells will find itself having lived the most unspeakable of horrors. We recall every sight, feeling, and sensation as though it was our own. It weighs heavily on our shredded and reconstituted souls, leaving us shaken to our very core until our bi-hourly mind wipe. Offshore Kensington wrote, "If he does give info on restoration magic, do comfort him, please. He's been nothing but kind up to this point and seems slightly bothered about this subject." Oh wow, I'm sorry I brought it up? Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point wrote, "Make a skelly pun to brighten the mood! From now on, I'll be careful talking about restoration." Like, the tibia kind of shin, which is a bone. Fank wrote, "Situation might be getting a bit too dark, maybe switch topics?" Probably not. A cat wrote, "Ask the skeleton if eating the whole book would allow for an accelerated study of restoration magic." Tracer wrote, "This skeleton seems to be a specialist in abnormal drinking techniques. Ask for advice on drinking from a plate gracefully." Let's see. And we got a few. Let's see, open in a new window. Okay, so that's the first one. Open in a new window. That's the second one. And open in a third window. Kitty! And watermelon. And the signature appears to be on the watermelon. So, you seem very good at staying hydrated. Is there a dignified way to drink from a dish? While there's very little information about this in the etiquette knowledge of the makers, and all rights reserved, have supplied, the skeleton's limited information suggests the proper route is to place your fingers in a circle around the rim, stabilizing the edges of the dish as you bring it to your mouth. Semio Fro 007 wrote, "Has Asotil arrived yet?" A Tree wrote, "By the way, check if Asotil hasn't shown up on the road." A dude called Leo wrote, "Jesus Christ, Caddy, I get back to watching the road!" Don't worry, you're still watching the road. Nobody has shown up since the textile merchant. At most, you've seen a few deer. You have been trying to slightly increase the time between checks, hoping this will jinx Asotil to walking past the city just in time for you to notice him walking away and chase after him. So far, this has not worked, and you may need some stronger type of jinx magic. Ocean wrote, "Form a deep emotional bond with the imaginary snake so that it is tragically killed, hopefully by Asotil stepping on it." His name is now Quentin. His favorite food is chamomile tea, and he wants to learn woodworking so he can start a shop selling children's toys that help teach math. It would be emotionally devastating if Asotil showed up and stepped on him. Nothing. Mikhail wrote, "Summon the skeleton to pass the time, or use him/her to find your friend." In retrospect, Jinx magic might not actually be a real thing. Taking a more proactive approach, you turn your attention back to the skeleton. You think about your predicament. You're waiting for a friend to show up, but don't know when he's going to arrive. You don't want to leave this rock lest it cause you to miss him, but you would like to search around to see if there are any better vantage points. Would it be okay to maybe pull the skeleton over the Nern to act as an extra pair of eye sockets? The skeleton delightedly informs you that guard duty is a perfectly acceptable and encouraged use of your Karen Corp All Rights Reserved Bonekin. According to its readings, however, you have insufficient magical energy to perform a conjuration at this time. Wait, you can see how much magic I have? Of course it can read your mana quantity, the skeleton thinks. In order to provide an optimal conjuration experience, Karen Corp, All Rights Reserved, carefully monitors numerous attributes of customer well-being. Your mana quantity is among these. Can you, tell me how much I have? Because I don't exactly know how to tell. Certainly. Would you prefer it in metric or imperial? Oh, I mean, on one hand, I recognize metric is better. Everything being based off of multiples of 10 just makes sense, you know? But on the other hand, the Empire's units are what I grew up with. When someone says 1 meter, there's still this split second of thought of, oh, so about 3 feet, and I don't know if it's ever fully goes away. It feels like I still think in Imperial, but on some level I also feel an obligation to try and stand against that. To force myself to use magic units until I stop instinctively converting them into my head, and instead just feel comfortable thinking of 1 meter is 1 meter. The skeleton asks you to confirm it understands correctly. You would like the measurement in Imperial. Yes, please. The skeleton informs you that you have 1.5 gallons of magicka. How much is that? About 5.5 liters. No, I mean, how much does it take to do a conjuration spell? It varies based on the conjurer's skill, the skeleton thinks in response. For a caster of your demographics, a basic Bonekin conjuration will take approximately twice the amount of mana you currently have, or 3 gallons. Based on your personal conjuration history, it is estimated the spell will take approximately 16 times as much mana as you currently have, or 24 gallons. Let me guess, this is because of all those pictures I drew on the way there last time, isn't it? The skeleton notes that drawing the pictures with a ley line you actually intend to use is, in practical terms, a terrible idea that would be met with ridicule were the skeleton capable of such behavior. But because the glorious makers, All Rights Reserved, have freed the skeleton of such vices, and instead commends you on your creativity and dedication to the arts. Improvised Coffee wrote, "Hey, you know what this means? You now have a good excuse for a mana meter. Add one to your HUD." Laughing Fox wrote, "Kania, you see if you can imagine a sort of visual aid, like a gauge or something, to measure your remaining magicka? Something along the lines of what you did to manage your inventory, perhaps? Knowing that you have 1.5 gallons of magicka isn't exactly enough for you to make a gauge out of it. You still need to know what total amount that is out of, and have someone to tell how much is changing by each time you cast a spell." Beanman wrote, "Ask how big your mana tank is. How much can you hold?" The first question, though, might have an easy solution. You direct your thoughts back to the skeleton and wonder how much magic it would take before your tank is full. The skeleton forewarns that it was not created to display magical aptitude, and only possesses the basic magical knowledge the makers, All Rights Reserves, have decreed necessary for client relations. As it understands things, however, the question isn't how large your mana tank is, but rather how much mana you can wield control over. Have you ever siphoned power from a soul fissure? No, you think in response. Have you ever attempted to animate a non-standard skeletal construct with more bones than the soul bound to it originally possessed? No, I haven't. Have you ever used alteration spells to warp a larger area to fit within a smaller area of a different shape? No, I don't think so, but we'll admit a degree of ambiguity on that one. Well, storing mana for spellcasting is like any of those things you haven't done. There's no maximum amount one can carry so much as there is a functional limit to what an individual can learn how to manipulate. Oh, so it's kind of like finding out how much you can lift. You just have to keep picking up weights and see at what point you can't do it? The skeleton supposes so, though such an analogy seems unnecessarily abstract and difficult for Karen Corp All Rights Reserve's clientele to relate to. It would like to estimate the upper limit of your mana wielding capabilities. The simplest route would be to gather or generate mana and take note of the point at which you can wield no more. You can't generate your own magicka, so doing a test like that isn't exactly easy for you, you admit. Hopeful Scion wrote, "Go back into the city and grab some magicka potions." Oh right, you forgot you have money now. Everything is easy for you. You splurge and drop 221 septims on the strongest magicka potion you can find. The skeleton informs you that you now have approximately 7¼ gallons of magicka. Nice. You ask the skeleton if that's a good amount for a mage to cap out at. It ponders the question for a minute, then explains that its etiquette training suggests an abrupt change in topic. How's the weather on Nirn? It's Nirny, you guess? You'd say normal, but the meaning of that might be lost across planes. Okay, Cat Friend wrote, try cleaning up that ley line, not like we have anything better to do. However you say that, Niforian wrote, ask the skeleton if there's a way to make the summon cost lower, or if there's a faster way to increase your mana, maybe both. Before you go and blow 100 septims worth of magic on a summoning spell, you check with the skeleton as to whether or not there are any ways to bring the spell's magicka cost lower. Like, are there better ways to cast it? You're already cleaning up the blue squiggle. The skeleton tells you that the mana usage of Star Tesseract style conjuration predominantly comes down to the efficiency of the ley line. A straight line will be more efficient than the one used during your previous summon, but conjurers with more experience navigating the planar layout can typically forge a route shorter than a straight line. Routing through smaller planes helps. You don't suppose there's a map available explaining the shortest route? A nth-dimensional map such as that would be very difficult to portray in a 2- or 3-dimensional model. Celestial routing efficiency is typically regarded as a skill conjurers pick up through experience. Karen Corporal writes Reserved's official stance is that conjuration technique is best improved through regular repeated conjurations with Karen Corporal writes Reserved. But, like, we're already telepathically communicating. Is there no way to just transfer the maps into my head? It stresses that this is a front-level mental link through a long-distance ley line. What you are asking would require transferring a conjurer's actual experiences navigating star maps. You said there were magical ways to shift experience from one person to another, right? Is that something I could use here? Like, could I get a more experienced conjurer to use that experienced tampering magic you mentioned to show me how he... Oh, okay. The Soul Cairn, how to conjure, communicate with, and avoid grievously offending them. Huh, maybe you should have actually read this book rather than just idly holding it that entire time. You didn't even get a chance to take up the skeleton's offer to connect you to Vermina's plane. Though, if what it said about bi-hourly mind wipes is true, you guess you could just try again in half an hour. Hop wrote, ask whether bi-hourly means twice an hour or every 2 hours. Or 2 hours. It's weird that ambiguity still exists telepathically. Abaco wrote, what if Acetyl already arrived and left while you were busy talking to the Skelly? Emma Void wrote, try using happy memories to cast restoration magic. After you're off the phone with your bone friend, probably best not to expose them to that. Homer wrote, eat the book, 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 eat the book. The skeleton's thoughts about restoration magic implied it might actually be able to make you better at other types of magic. If restoration magic is really that powerful, you doubt using it as simple as thinking happy thoughts or believing in yourself. Or eating a book about it. As for Acetyl, you've been giving the road regular checks, and the most you've seen is a trapper carrying some rabbits. The sun is going down, though, so it's pretty likely Acetyl's schedule was shifted 6 hours forward, and he'll show up in a couple of hours. Ocean wrote, could we check out the electricity book now? I'm kind of anxious to try to shore up our offensive capabilities right now, for no particular reason, especially if we can't summon a skeleton right now. Speaking of, are there any ways for us to regain mana right now? You guess if you have a full tank of magic, a temporary block on summoning, and no apparent route forward with restoration, it's time to try the lightning spell? You doubt you'll have time to get much of a handle on it before Acetyl shows up like he said he would, but yeah. Let's see. 6/21/21. Still running very behind on updates / shirt shipping due to unexpected delays as usual. Please let me know if you need any changes due to the wait. Okay, so as of June the 21st, there was no further pages than this one, so let's go! Fist Lover 23 wrote, Katia, consider going alone now that you can defend yourself. Snake with arms. You're not going to leave now, when Acetyl is probably only an hour or 2 from arriving. Boop. Wait. The animation for the boop is different, but he explicitly told you he was going to get his schedule shifted by 6 hours, and that he was going to meet up with you and travel back. Even if he got reassigned to another road or something, there would still be an Imperial Legionnaire patrolling this one. When they come by the town, apparently 6 hours later than normal, you will be briefly sad that they're not Acetyl, but you'll still travel with them. And on the off chance that every Legionnaire was suddenly recalled for an emergency or something, you'd still like to ensure your safety by traveling with someone else. Maybe the textile merchant or Dagon cultists have a reason to go to the coast. You really don't want to head out on your own. Not when overconfidence has screwed you over so many times. Spicy Ranch Noodle wrote, "Bro, fix that mana bar above your head, make it pretty. Looks like it was drawn by a 3rd grader." Wreath Wordsmith wrote, "Why don't you try, say, blue? Blue's a great magic color. In fact, mana potions are blue too. It's like you got a good old color code going." Unclever Title wrote, "Give Quentin a scritch behind the ears for being a loyal and steadfast friend. He has ears now." It's still not much of a meter when you can't tell how much it's changing, but you straighten up the magic bar a bit and make it a clothing coordinated shade of blue. You'd make it a better one, but you're pretty sure all your imagination use is currently going towards this extremely vivid snake you keep adding things to. A small mouse wrote, "Hey, not to redirect your attention at me, but don't you feel like hungry? You've been standing here for hours." Into the Drink wrote, "I bet you're getting real hungry. Maybe you should eat the books. They look pretty tasty." You still have the sweet rolls. In fact, 10 hours of eating sweet rolls and giving them to everyone who walks past is only taking you about halfway through this 24-pack. You could run into town and get some real food, but your worried straying from the rock for too long will cause you to miss Astil. Also, you gotta feel like you deserve this sickeningly sweet fate for buying 5 pounds of sweet rolls. It's a complicated feeling. Anyway, let's learn about zapping things. TJ wrote, "Take an aggressive bite of a Cinnabon and get shocking. Maybe combat-centered spells are more your kind of jam." Part 1, Introduction. Lightning is the art of friction. It is the broil of clouds against the night sky. It is the crackling drag of fabric against fabric. It is the slow burn that drains our power as we pull magicka through the fibrous ether. And to wield the spark as your weapon is to embrace and unleash the friction that the unlightened mage laments as his detriment. Some among the scholarly elite contend that the destruction mage's reliance upon emotion is brutish, and I confess, when it comes to the sting of angst that ignites a flame spell, or the cold focus of frost, I find that my field's detractors and I begrudgingly agree. To call forth the echo of thunder, however, is not to regard emotions as your weapon, but as the terrain upon which you fight. It is to draw your unformed energies through the tangled conflict of thought, allowing whatever change the burn of friction may afflict upon them. Oh good, it's flowery bullshit. You were worried something meaningful might happen today. Rackned wrote, "Perhaps your time would be better spent expanding skills upon which you already have a basic grasp." I'm saying you should practice stuff like the telepathy thing for funsies. Maybe there's something new and interesting hiding inside what you already know. Trying to learn a bunch of new magic skills at once might be biting off more than you can chew, yeah. Especially trying to learn them over the course of 12 hours and without sleep. To show the flowery metaphor book how dumb it is, you imagine up a big clump of magicka and, as per its suggestion, drag it through what you can only imagine is a giant mess of overthinking that surrounds you. Do the GIF again, I missed it. Submit command. What happens when I click? Oh! Wait, I can say things? Okay, do I need an account for this? I don't know. Do a happy dance about the Sparky Boom. Okay, cool. I posted a thing. But other than that does it for how much prequel I had left to be doing. So now we know she can do lightning much easier than she can do other spells. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well so that you're notified of future uploads. And feel free to let me know when the comic updates so that I know when I can do more of these. Later.